Hi everyone, I'm Dayou from Politecnico di Milano. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm really happy to join this virtual conference, which is a valuable chance to allow us to share and discuss our ideas about specific topics during the period of coronavirus. So thanks for the organization of this international conference on structural integrity. So in this presentation, I'm going to present our work about the method for determining the distribution of carbon nanotubes in nanocomposites by electric conductivity. The presentation will start from the introduction, and then I will talk about something about theoretical modeling and experimental activity that we have conducted. Then is the parts about the discussions and analysis based on both experimental and numerical results. In the end, there are the conclusions and further developments about the current modeling strategies. So, adding carbon nanotubes into the polymer materials can make them conductive. Of course, the CNT is conductive itself, but actually the main reason is the tunneling effect. So, what is the tunneling effect? The tunneling effect is actually a kind of mechanism provided by CNTs, which can allow electron paths even two CNTs are not connecting with each other. And in this way, the current paths can somehow form inside the polymer materials and make them conductive. The existence of this kind of electric properties is really helpful for monitoring the health state of the nanocomposites. Because we know that during the deformation or the damage of the conductive materials, the electric properties such as electric resistance or the electric conductivity will also change in the same time. So in this way, we could somehow monitor the health state of the nanocomposites. Besides the electric parts, the enhanced mechanical properties provided by carbon nanotubes is actually very interesting. Of course, the carbon nanotubes is super strong, so the pull the CNT out of the polymer materials during the loading of nanocomposites will become the main failure mechanisms. And this kind of failure mechanisms can cause the bridge the cracking during the loading. And this kind of mechanism can also straightforward increase the fracture and the tensile properties of the nanocomposites. These are actually the good points for adding the carbon nanotubes into the polymer materials. But actually, if we want to further investigate this kind of nanocomposites, the unpredictable distribution or the waviness or the unpredictable pulse of the CNTs inside the polymer materials will be a headache. Of course, it can somehow, let's say, a challenge for the modeling process, and also it's really hard to be measured during the experiments without cutting the sample. So in this way, we should get somehow get the solution to get the unpredictable distribution of the CNTs or the CNT networks inside the polymer materials. And in this work, the main goal is to somehow provide a possible solution for this problem. The basic insights of the current solution is presented in this slide. And actually, as we know that the microstructure or the CNT networks inside the polymer materials is somehow determine both electric properties and also the mechanical ones of the nanocomposites. So in this way, we think that maybe it is possible to somehow get the microstructure information according to the electric properties of the nanocomposites, and then this kind of microstructure information can be served for the mechanical modeling process. And actually, this method has been applied in one of our previous works about aligned CNTs. And I will not talk about it too much, since more details can be found in these publications last year. But in this case, in the current work, we'd like to apply this methodology on more general cases, a non-aligned CNT case. And in this way, we could check the capability of the numerical methods. And also, in the same time, we'd like to see that it is possible to get the electromechanical behaviors of the nanocomposites in the modeling environment. So first of all, I'd like to introduce something about our electric modeling process. And as we know that the CNT, the actual CNT without the lining process will act like this inside the polymer materials, like the wavelength of the CNTs. But so in this modeling process, we will use a kind of effective CNT to somehow replace the actual CNT, which can connect the end and the beginning points of the actual CNT. And in this way, the wavelength of the CNT will somehow simplified and to aligned CNT. In the system of aligned CNT, the only matters is about this angle theta, which I call it the position angle in this work. So actually this kind of position angle is not a specific value, but it's actually a distribution from 0 to theta max, which is the maximum position angle. So in this way, if we have the theta max, we could somehow build a microstructure of the CNT, of the nanocomposites, and actually the network of the CNT in a unit cell can be acted like this. So the only parameter is about the maximum position angle, which is the theta max. Regarding the calculation about the electric property, we actually calculated the electric resistance of the nanocomposites, which contains two parts. The first part is about the resistance of the CNT itself. I will not talk about it too much since it can be calculated according to this equation. Well, the other part is about the contact resistance. Actually, the contact resistance is somehow complex since it has two parts. One is the real contact electric resistance between two CNT, while the other part is about the tunneling effect, as I introduced before. And if it's too far, I mean two CNTs are too far, which the distance is greater than the cutoff distance, then the tunneling effect will not exist anymore. So in this way, the T will equal to 0, and the the contact electric resistance will equal to the infinite. So in this way, the path will not make sense anymore, which means the electron cannot pass in this way. More specific about the modeling process, first of all, we have a distance matrix, and in this matrix, it contains all the distance between each two CNT in the network of the unit cell. And we calculate the electric resistance according to the equations that I presented in the last slides. And then we could get the electric resistance matrix. And in this matrix, we could find that sum of the value is infinite since the CNT may be too far. So in this way, we can see that this path cannot allow the electron pass. So we will keep searching the available value in each row, and if the value was found, that means a path can be formed. In the same time, if the CNT at the beginning and the end was near the boundary, that means a current path can formed in the unit cell. In this way, we could find that there are some current paths and also the resistance of that current path, and all the available current paths will be calculated in parallel. In this way, we could get the overall electric resistance for the nanocomposites. Besides, the current distance matrix will keep updated in each time step during the loading. So in this way, we could get keep updating distance matrix, and in this way, we could calculate the electromechanical behaviors during the loading of the unit cell. So with this model, we could use the theta max, which is the position angle, with some parameters that can be found in from the manufacturer data, to get the electric properties of the nanocomposites. Before using that on our case, we should first have a validation about the current electric model. According to the, let's say, published experimental data, we could find that our model have a good agreement compared with them. So in this way, we could say that our current electric model is reliable. So in this way, you can make for the further study. Regarding the mechanical parts, we actually use the voxel mesh to generate the finite element model for the nanocomposites. And actually, with the voxel mesh, it actually can somehow simplify the mesh generation, but with acceptable accuracy. Besides, the Monte Carlo simulation was also used for different distribution of the CNT in the unit cell. Considering the experimental activity, we actually put the multiple CNT inside the epoxy, and this is some figures about the manufacture process. And then we cut it into the sample sheet. During the loading of that sample, we use the wear to somehow monitor the change of the conductivity, and more details can be found in our publication about this experimental works. In this work, first of all, we will keep changing the theta max in the electric model to somehow get a value about the electric conductivity which can good fit it with the experimental data. So we actually measure the electric conductivity on the sample, on each sample, and actually this black point is the average value. And from here we could see that when theta max is equal to 25 degrees, it can good fit it with the experimental data. So in this way, we will use the theta max equal to 25 degrees as the input to the mechanical simulation. And then with the input from the electric model, we could get our mechanical results. With theta max equal to 25 degrees, we could see that the mechanical results from our numerical model have good fitted compared with the experimental data. Here the black curve is about the experiments, so we can see that it's really have good fitted. And besides, during the simulation of our mechanical model, we could see that the failure of the nanocomposites is always initiated from the cross section, where the largest number of the CNTs can be found due to the stress concentration. It's also a very interesting finding. Finally, about the electromechanical behaviors of the nanocomposites, we could find from this figure. The black one is also the electric data, while the red one is about the numerical results. From here, there is some noise from our experimental data, but actually, generally speaking, we could see that they also have a very good agreement compared with each other. So in this way, we could see that the current modeling strategy is also, let's say, available to model the electromechanical behaviors for the nanocomposites. About the conclusion, I'd like to say that through the current works, it is possible to use the electrical properties of the nanocomposites to somehow determine the microstructure or the distributions of the CNT in the nanocomposites. And also, the current methods allow us to mimic the electric and also the mechanical properties of the nanocomposites. Well, the electromechanical behaviors of the nanocomposites can also be captured with the current methods. But actually, the current methods is still under development, which need further efforts about various weight fractions and also different nanocomposites to check the capability and modify the current numerical frameworks, which can make the works better fitted for more general cases. So this is almost all, and thanks a lot. Hope you could enjoy it. And if you have any question, please contact me through email, or we could meet in the conference. So see you then.